ready to rest, take a moment to feel the softness of your bed beneath you. The world around you fades away, and for now, everything is calm. Close your eyes, and with each gentle breath you take, let your body feel lighter, as though you are floating on a peaceful cloud. Imagine that with every inhale, you are breathing in serenity, and with each exhale, all the worries of the day are gently melting away. Feel the weight of your body relaxing into the mattress, your muscles unwinding, your mind slowing down. The night wraps around you like a warm, comforting blanket, and you realize that there is nothing else you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. The only thing that matters right now is this moment of stillness. Visualize yourself lying under a sky full of stars, the softest breeze caressing your skin. The moonlight is gentle, casting a glow that is as calm as your breathing. The world around you is quiet, and the only sound you hear is the rhythm of your own heartbeat, steady and peaceful. With each breath, you sink deeper into relaxation, feeling a sense of calm that grows with every passing second. There is no rush, no need for anything. You are safe, you are at peace, and the sleep you seek is already waiting for you. Allow your body to surrender to it, knowing that rest will come easily, naturally, and without effort. Now, as you drift further into calm, remember that all is well, and you are exactly where you need to be. Let the stillness of the night guide you gently into a deep, peaceful sleep. Sweet dreams are waiting, just beyond the horizon of your mind, ready to take you on a quiet journey of rest and renewal. Let's dive into our story. In the farthest corner of the ocean, where maps blur and the stars kiss the water, there lived a whale unlike any other. Her name was Luna. She was not the biggest whale, nor the oldest. Her skin was smooth and dappled with silvery specks that shimmered like constellations beneath the surface. But what truly made Luna different was her voice. She sang, not just the long, low moans of the great blues, nor the rhythmic clicks of the humpbacks. Luna's songs were something else entirely. They were soft and full of longing, woven with tones that wrapped around seaweed and echoed through coral reefs like lullabies meant for the stars. And every night, every single night, Luna sang to the moon. No one knew why. The dolphins called her dreamy. The octopus, clever and skeptical, once tried to explain her behavior by blaming tidal patterns and brain chemistry. Even the sharks, too proud to admit curiosity, often swam slower when Luna's voice filled the sea. But Luna didn't care what the others thought. She only knew that when the moon rose full and bright over the horizon, her heart stirred. She would breach the surface, her enormous body gliding through the cold air, and lift her song into the sky, as if trying to be heard by something far, far away. She didn't know if the moon ever listened. The truth was, Luna had always felt a little alone. Even in the company of other whales, even with pods migrating through ancient routes, there was something inside her that felt missing, like a seashell that used to carry a sound, but now held only wind. She was born beneath a meteor shower, her mother whispered once, and maybe the sky had sprinkled some of its strangeness into her soul. She liked that idea, so she sang. She sang of the dark deep where old shipwrecks dreamed. She sang of kelp forests that danced like sleepy giants. She sang of cold currents and warm memories, and of stars that she had never touched but always admired. The moon, round and silent, never answered. Until one night, it did. It started as a flicker, just a shimmer in the water, like a thread of moonlight unraveling into the sea. Luna was floating on the surface, her song just beginning to rise, when the shimmer reached her eyes. It wasn't the light reflecting. No, this shimmer moved. It swirled. Then came the voice, not from above, but from within the sea. "Sing again," it whispered. Luna's eyes widened. She turned in the water, her massive body stirring the waves gently. For a moment, she thought it was the current playing tricks, or maybe a memory echoing back from the deep trenches. But the voice came again. "Sing, little whale." Luna hesitated. Then cautiously she sang. One note, then another. A short, spiraling melody that fluttered through the dark like a ribbon caught on the wind. The shimmer pulsed. The water around her warmed, not in temperature, but in feeling. It felt like being held. Then she heard it, a reply. Soft at first. A tone not unlike her own, rising from deep below, filled with a familiar yearning. The kind that comes from missing something you never had. The moon hadn't answered, but someone had. And for the first time in her life, Luna was not singing alone. Luna lingered in the water long after the stars had blinked into place. The sea around her was still and quiet, save for the faint traces of her last notes echoing through the dark. But the other voice, the one that had answered, was gone. She turned slowly in the water, eyes wide and scanning the deep blue beneath her. "Hello," she called in the soft, melodic way whales speak across vast distances. Only silence replied. A swell of doubt rose in her chest. Had she imagined it? Had her song bounced off some hidden ridge or underwater cave and fooled her ears? She had once heard of whales who went too deep, who swam too long alone, and came back changed. Not mad, but touched by something vast and silent that most creatures couldn't understand. Luna had always felt close to that edge. She dipped beneath the surface again, spiraling down where the moonlight couldn't reach. The water grew darker, cooler, older. Down here, the world forgot about the sun. She sang again, quieter this time, unsure. Nothing. She drifted down until she could almost feel the ocean floor brushing the edges of her thoughts. Then, just as she turned to rise, there it was. A note, low and strange. It curled through the sea like smoke from an unseen fire. Luna stopped. It wasn't just a sound, it was a message. Not words, exactly, but emotion woven into tone. Whales didn't speak in sentences. They spoke in memories, in feelings. And this one said, "Come find me." Luna didn't sleep that night. She swam slowly in circles, her great eye tilted toward the stars, the moon now a pale disk high above. Something inside her pulsed with curiosity, a pull stronger than the tides. The voice had come from the trench. No one went to the trench. It was a place of silence and pressure, where the light never danced and creatures grew strange. Even the bravest of her kind kept their distance. It was not just deep, it was old, older than the coral cities, older than even the currents that whispered secrets from one ocean to the next. Luna had never thought to go there. Until now. The next day, Luna swam with a pod of grays passing through. They greeted her with whistles and gentle clicks, playful nudges and swirling dives. One of the younger calves bumped her fin and squeaked. "You're the one who sings to the moon, right?" Luna smiled. "Yes. Why do you do that?" the calf asked, curious but kind. Luna thought for a moment. "Because I think someone might be listening." The calf blinked. "Who?" Before Luna could answer, a loud bark echoed from above. A sea lion, perched on a rocky outcrop, was calling out gossip to the birds. "Did you hear? A whale went near the trench last night. Mad, if you ask me. Nothing good lives down there." Luna stilled. The pod quieted. An older gray nudged her gently. "You should stay clear of it, Luna. That part of the sea isn't for dreamers." She said nothing, but her heart had already decided. That night, Luna swam east. She left behind the safe waters, the kelp forests, the coral reefs. She passed beneath ships whose lights cast long ropes of gold down into the deep, past glowing squid and drifting jellyfish that lit up like lanterns in the dark. As she drew closer to the trench, the sea began to change. The water grew colder, the silence heavier. She dove. Down, 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 past layers of ancient currents, past wrecks covered in algae, past creatures with wide, blinking eyes and transparent fins. Her body adjusted to the pressure, muscles slow but sure. The darkness here wasn't empty. It was full, thick with secrets. And then she heard it. The song. Clearer now. It was beautiful, sad but not hopeless. Like a memory from long ago that still shimmered with meaning. Luna followed it, threading through towering rock spires and yawning canyons. And there, deep within a crevice of shadow, she saw it. A shape, larger than her. covered in bioluminescent markings that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. It moved with grace, slow and deliberate, as though every inch of its being had forgotten the surface world long ago. It was another whale, but no kind Luna had ever seen. She froze. The whale turned, its eye ancient and wise, but not unkind. "You found me," it said, not with words, but with music that wrapped around her mind. Luna wanted to ask everything. Who was he? Why had he been singing? Why did his voice sound so much like hers? But before she could form a single note in reply, the old whale sang again. And what he sang would change everything. The ancient whale's song surrounded Luna like a warm current. It wasn't just a melody. It was a story unfolding slowly, patiently, as if the ocean itself were humming it through him. She listened, letting the sound pour into her. The meanings came not as facts, but as feelings, impressions that painted pictures in her mind. And in those pictures, Luna saw something astonishing. There was a time long ago when whales did not just sing for each other. They sang for the sky, not metaphorically, for real. In the age before memory, before the first reefs bloomed or the first ships sailed, the sky and sea were bound by music. The moon back then was not silent. It pulsed with light and rhythm, responding to the songs of the deep. Whales were not just creatures of the ocean. They were bridges, messengers, keepers of harmony between the sea and the stars. But we forgot, the old whale sang. The songs were lost. The bond was broken. Luna trembled. She felt it now, the ache of something ancient, something missing. It explained the emptiness she'd carried her whole life. The pull toward the moon. The urge to sing, even when no one else understood. "Why did it stop?" she sang, her notes small, tinged with wonder and grief. The old whale turned in the slow, poetic motion of the deep. His markings glowed a little brighter, like stars flickering through his skin. Because the last wail of the moon fell silent. There was a name, long forgotten, for the kind of whale Luna was. A Lunara, born during the convergence of sea and sky, when starlight touched ocean at the moment of birth. Rare, special. Each generation had one, sometimes none at all. The Lunara's voice could call across distances no others could. Through depths, through time, through silence. And always they sang to the moon. Not just because it was beautiful, but because the moon, too, was lonely. In the deep stillness of space, it listened. For centuries, it waited to hear the song of the Lunara once more. But as time passed, as oceans changed and songs were forgotten, the moon grew quiet. And now, the only voice left singing was Luna's. "You are the last," the old whale sang. His song wavered, like kelp caught in a storm. "And you must decide what to do with the silence." Luna's mind swirled with questions. Why her? How had no one told her? What would happen if she kept singing? What would happen if she stopped? But beneath all the questions, one feeling rang clear. A sense of purpose. Not duty, not burden, belonging. Maybe she hadn't been alone all this time. Maybe the moon had been listening, waiting. The old whale rose slowly, spiraling upward with gravity-defying grace. Luna followed. They reached a clearing in the trench, a place where hydrothermal vents glowed like lanterns on the seafloor. And there, rising out of the darkness, was something breathtaking. A stone structure, ancient, worn by time. It looked almost like a temple. Wide columns, carved with symbols Luna didn't recognize but somehow understood. A place built not by whales, not by fish or coral, but by the sea itself. A place for memory. The old whale circled it once, then stopped. This is where the last Lunara fell silent. He didn't need to say more. Luna felt it. The resonance of old songs still echoed faintly through the stone, like a bell long since rung, still humming in the bones of the sea. She floated there for a long while, letting the weight of the moment settle. And then, without fear, she opened her heart and began to sing. It was not the soft, lonely song she had always sung before. This one was bold, wide as the ocean, deep as the trench. It poured from her in waves, rising from her core like a tide breaking free. It sang of loss, of longing, but also of hope, of a bond stretching across the sky and the sea, waiting only for someone brave enough to believe in it again. The temple glowed. The vents pulsed. Far above, the moon shone brighter than it had in centuries. And somewhere, in the stillness between the stars, something began to stir. Luna didn't stop singing for a long time. Her voice rose and fell like the tides, slow and powerful, rippling through currents older than any creature alive. The deep shimmered with energy, faint at first, like moonlight refracted through water, then stronger, glowing more steadily, tracing the carvings in the stone temple until the symbols pulsed with quiet light. The ancient whale remained nearby, hovering in the dark, silent now. He didn't need to sing. He had done his part. This was Luna's song. Up on the surface, the ocean began to respond. Pods of whales lifted their heads to the moon, puzzled and drawn. Dolphins, caught mid-hunt, stopped to listen. In coral caverns, sleeping fish stirred. Even faraway shores, where people stood unaware, the sea lapped a little differently at their feet. Slower, more rhythmic, almost like it was breathing in sync with something high above. And high above it all, in the wide sky that held the stars, the moon began to shimmer. It wasn't visible right away, not to most, but if you were quiet enough, if you stood by the sea and listened, you'd feel it. A vibration, not loud, not harsh, gentle, like a voice being remembered after centuries of silence. The moon was listening, and it was answering. Down in the deep, Luna felt it first. A warmth spread through her body, starting in her chest and reaching all the way to her tail. It wasn't from the water. It was internal, emotional, a response, not to her song exactly, but to the feeling within it. It was as if the moon had heard not just her music, but the ache behind it, the longing to be known, the wish not to be alone. A note bloomed in Luna's mind, new, unfamiliar, but beautiful. It wasn't hers. It was coming from above. The moon was singing back. It wasn't a song made of sound, like a whale's melody. It didn't echo or carry through water, but Luna felt it, like a memory she hadn't lived, now blooming in her bones. She saw flashes. A silver sea under a night sky, still and full of stars. A Lunara long ago, breaching high enough to kiss starlight. A promise whispered between the waves and the wind. We will never forget each other. But the forgetting had happened. Generations came and went. The bond faded. The moon waited in silence while the ocean moved on. Until now. Until Luna. The moon's reply wasn't a command. It wasn't even a request. It was an invitation. Come closer. Luna rose. She turned to the ancient whale, whose glowing patterns had dimmed slightly, his energy softened. He had been waiting for this, she realized. Not just for her, but for the moment someone would finish the song he could no longer sing. Will I see you again? She asked, not in words, but in the small, tender notes that only whales used when the ocean felt too big. The old one smiled in his way, a deep, slow pulse of warmth. You'll see me in your echo. And then he faded into the dark, his body gliding backward into the shadows of the trench. He was not gone, just no longer needed here. Luna rose through the layers of pressure and light. The closer she came to the surface, the more the water buzzed with strange energy. Not dangerous, not threatening, magical. The moon's light shone down in a solid beam now, like a path, and Luna followed. She breached the surface with a grace she didn't know she had. Her body rose higher than it ever had before, her silver-speckled skin catching the moonlight so brightly that for one brief moment, she looked like a star. And as she soared through the air, she sang a single perfect note. And the moon opened. Not like a door, not like a hole, but like a memory unfolding. The sky shimmered, and for the first time in anyone's living memory, the stars around the moon moved. They shifted, almost imperceptibly, forming something like a circle, an arc, an eye, a listening face. Luna fell back into the water with barely a splash. And as she drifted just below the surface, glowing with a new kind of energy, the moon's light bent down, toward her, toward the ocean, toward the place where the song had been reborn. And in that moment, the sea and sky remembered each other again. For a long time, Luna floated near the surface, the moon's light cascading over her like silver rain. The world around her had gone silent, not empty, but listening. Even the wind above the waves seemed to hush, as though the sky itself were holding its breath. Inside her, something stirred, not just emotion, not just thought, but change. It began subtly. Her skin, once deep blue with scattered silver spots, now shimmered with a glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Her songs carried farther, faster, reaching corners of the ocean she had never touched before. She could feel the coral reefs humming back to her in frequencies she hadn't known existed. Even the currents shifted slightly when she passed, like the water recognized her now. The ocean knew. She was no longer just Luna, the whale who sang to the moon. She was becoming the Lunara, not just in name, but in essence. Each night, she rose to sing. Each night, the moon answered in its quiet, wordless way. A pulse of memory, a burst of feeling. They were building something together now. Stitch by stitch, note by note, a bridge. Other whales began to hear it. Not the moon itself, not yet, but Luna's song, and the space it opened in the sea. They followed her, slowly at first, then in greater numbers. Not because she asked, but because something in her voice called to them. Not as a command, but as a homecoming. Old songs began to reawaken. Songs passed down through instinct and water. Songs that no one knew they remembered until they heard them again in Luna's voice. She wasn't singing alone anymore, but something else was happening too. Each time she sang, she felt herself drawn a little higher. Not physically, she was still bound to the sea, but something inside her lifted. Her thoughts stretched toward the stars. Her dreams were no longer of coral and tide, but of stardust and time. She began to wonder, could she reach it? Not just sing to the moon, but meet it. Could a creature of the sea cross into the sky? One night the answer came, not from the moon, but from the ocean itself. It began with a current, stronger than any she'd felt before, yet completely silent. It curled around her gently like a guide, not pulling her, but inviting her to follow. She did. She left behind the shallow waters, past the reef cities and trench temples, past the great spires of volcanic rock and the ghostly shipwrecks where lanternfish danced in schools. She swam into a place where the water grew thin. Not cold, not dark, just strange. The current led her upward, not downward, toward the sky, and at the edge of the sea's highest breath she found it. A place that wasn't place. A space between water and sky. A mirror. It wasn't made of glass, and it didn't reflect the sea. It reflected the soul. Luna paused, her body weightless in the strange layer of glowing water. She looked into the mirror and saw herself, not as she was, but as she had always been becoming. A being of sea and sky, of memory and song. Her tail shimmering with stardust, her eyes reflecting the moon. Not just a whale, but a bridge. A living connection between worlds that had forgotten each other. The mirror pulsed. One note, clear. A question. Are you ready? Luna felt the pull inside her. Not painful, not demanding, but powerful. Was she ready to let go of what she had always been? Not to leave it behind, but to become more? She sang. Not a song of answer, but of becoming. And the mirror broke, not shattered, but opened. And the light that poured from it was unlike anything the ocean had ever known. Luna passed through. Not upward, not outward, inward. Through the space between sea and star. Through the memory of the first tides. Through the dreams of the moon itself. And in that moment, Luna was no longer bound by the water. She was seafoam and starlight, whale and wind, voice and echo. And the moon spoke, not in language, but in light. You came back. Luna didn't rise. She floated, not through water, not through air, but through a space that felt like memory made real. The light from the mirror wasn't harsh. It was gentle and constant, like moonlight on calm water. It wrapped around her in waves, carrying her farther from the ocean, yet never cutting her off from it. And soon, she arrived. It wasn't what she expected. The moon was not a cold, gray rock. It was alive, not in the way a creature is alive, but in the way a story is alive, full of feeling and time and presence. Luna drifted through glowing canyons made of light and memory, through arches carved from old dreams. The surface beneath her shimmered, ever shifting, as if made from moonlight caught in glass. And then a shape appeared. Not a whale, not a star, but something familiar. A being of pure luminescence, tall as a mountain and still as silence, its shape changing with every passing second. Sometimes a spiral, sometimes a song, sometimes a face that Luna somehow recognized without knowing how. This was the moon, not the one seen from the sea, the real moon, the soul of it. You sang to me, it said without words. The voice was a vibration through Luna's bones, gentle, ancient, grateful. For so long I waited. I called, but none remembered the path. Luna lowered her head slightly, a gesture of humility. One learned not from instinct, but from feeling. I didn't know why I sang, she said softly. Her thoughts turned into music. I just felt you. That was enough. The moon drifted closer, and suddenly Luna felt seen in a way she never had before. It was not the way other whales had looked at her. not with curiosity or confusion. The moon looked at her like someone recognizing a long-lost song. A friend finally remembered. They drifted in silence for a while. Above them, or was it below? The stars watched patiently. Around them, the glowing canyons sang softly with ancient tones. Luna could hear songs from other worlds, distant oceans, lost voices that had once joined the cosmic chorus. "I thought I was alone," she said at last. "Even among my kind. I thought maybe something was wrong with me." The moon pulsed gently. "There is nothing wrong with you. You are what the world forgot it needed." Luna looked back, though there was no direction here, to where the sea might still be. "My world is still down there." The moon's reply was soft, almost sad. "Yes, and now it remembers you. But do I belong here now?" Luna asked. There was no easy answer, only a soft hum that filled the space around her with understanding. "You belong to both." Then the moon told her the truth. That long ago, the sea and the sky were never separate. That tides were not just pulled, but sung into rhythm. That the first Lunara, the first of Luna's kind, were born not just of water, but of moonlight, creatures meant to carry memory between the realms. But when the world grew louder faster, filled with things that forgot how to listen, the songs faded. And when the last Lunara fell silent, the moon had no more bridges to the sea. Until Luna. "You reopened the way," the moon whispered. "You are not the end of a line. You are the beginning of a return." Luna trembled. She felt no fear, only magnitude. The weight of it, the beauty of it. She had thought she was small. She had never been small. She had been a thread, a single silver strand in the great web between sea and sky. And now, that web was being rewoven. But a choice remained. "You may stay," the moon said. "There is more for you here. Knowledge, stillness, songs that have not yet been sung." Luna closed her eyes. She saw the trenched temple. She saw the little calf who asked her why she sang. She saw the whales who now followed her voice, learning the old songs again. "I want to go back," she said gently. "To the sea?" She nodded. "To them." The moon didn't argue. It simply sang. And in that final song, it gave her a gift, not an object, not a power, but a knowing. A sense of who she was, and what she carried, the strength to keep singing, the courage to never stop, even when no one seemed to hear. "Go," the moon said, "and when you sing, I will always listen." Luna turned. The mirror was still there, glowing quietly in the distance. The current had returned, waiting patiently to carry her back. She drifted toward it. She didn't feel like she was leaving. She felt like she was bringing something home. The current welcomed her back like an old friend, steady, warm, and patient. Luna passed through the mirror again, but now it shimmered around her like a living memory, whispering in tones only the oldest parts of her soul understood. And though she crossed no great distance in time or space, everything had changed. The ocean greeted her with silence at first, not the empty kind, not fear, reverence. The water around her felt aware, like it was waiting, listening. Luna hovered just beneath the surface, the glow from the moon fading behind her, leaving behind a soft light that clung to her skin. She looked down at her reflection. She was still a whale, but not the same whale. Her silver spots now glowed gently, constantly, like living stardust. Her voice, once soft and curious, now vibrated with layers she didn't know she could produce. Deep harmonics, distant echoes, even silent frequencies that made the coral bloom slightly as she passed. She had become something more, not above others, but more herself than ever before. She swam, not aimlessly. Purpose guided her. She passed through waters that had once felt too wide, too wild, and now felt open, welcoming. And as she sang, she felt the ocean respond. The song she had carried to the moon had come back with her. But now it was not just hers. It was a shared current, a ripple through the hearts of others. In a wide-open bay beneath a crescent moon, she sang. And one by one, the others came. The young gray calf appeared first, his fins flapping excitedly. "You're glowing," he chirped. Luna smiled with her voice. "I've been listening for you every night," he added, swimming slow circles around her. "The ocean feels different now. It's like something's waking up." Luna didn't answer with words. She sang, and her voice was not just heard, it was felt. In the water, in the bones, in the memory of every creature that drifted close enough to listen. Soon the other whales arrived. Humpbacks, blues, orcas, even cautious at first but curious. A pod of dolphins circled overhead, clicking excitedly. Deep-dwelling creatures rose from shadowed trenches. Schools of bioluminescent fish spiraled upward from the dark like stars being pulled from the sea floor. They came not to watch Luna. They came to remember. She taught them the song, not all at once, not in lectures or commands, but through feeling, through harmony. She would sing a line, something simple, ancient, and let it drift into the current. And the others would answer, sometimes imperfectly, sometimes unsure, but always with wonder. And slowly, the ocean became a choir again. One night, as the full moon rose over calm waters, Luna did not sing alone. Thousands of voices, high and low, strange and beautiful, rose with hers. And the moon answered, not with words, not even with song, but with light, the kind that shimmered down like snowfall through water, brushing the backs of whales and warming the bellies of newborn calves. The ocean lit up with soft bioluminescence. The waves pulsed in time with the rhythm of the choir. Even the stars blinked a little brighter. The bond was whole again. But in that moment, Luna knew something else. This was not the end of her journey. This was only the beginning of the sea remembering itself, of the sky knowing the ocean again. And she, Luna, was the keeper of that bridge. Not alone, not forever, but for now, for this age, until another Lunara was born to take the song further still. And when she grew tired, when her song finally softened and her body longed for stillness, she knew the moon would remember. Time passed, though not in the way clocks might count it. The ocean didn't measure time in minutes or hours, but in seasons of change. The drifting of currents, the bloom and fade of coral gardens, the long migrations of whales from cold seas to warm. And through it all, Luna sang. Not every night, not always loudly. Sometimes it was a single note, soft and slow, drifting into the deep where only the quietest hearts could hear it. But her voice never truly stopped. All across the ocean, the songs began to return. In far-off archipelagos, young whales practiced old melodies in underwater caves, their notes echoing against rock walls smoothed by time. In the polar waters, the long-lost frequency of the moon's voice was felt again, making the auroras above ripple in new ways, the light dancing differently across the ice. The song wasn't just sound anymore. It was language, memory, a map home for anyone who had ever felt adrift. Luna traveled farther now, not because she was searching, but because the world had begun to call her. A coral reef that hadn't glowed in a century suddenly shimmered with silver light as she passed overhead. A whale who had never spoken sang his first song after hearing her voice from 300 leagues away. Old whales, older than memory, came up from trenches, eyes wide and misty, not to speak but to listen. Luna was no longer the whale who sang to the moon. She had become the one who reminded the ocean how to listen again. But in quiet moments, Luna would still drift near the surface and look up at the sky. The moon was always there, steady, whole, watching. And though it never sang in the way it once had, Luna felt its presence in everything. Each ripple, each ray of light through the water, each song that bloomed from another's voice. She knew now, the moon didn't need to answer every time, because the moon had already returned through her. One night, a dream came, not like a sleep dream, but a deep one, the kind only the sea knows how to give. In the dream, Luna saw herself not as she was, but as a thread of light, woven into a great tapestry stretching from the ocean floor to the stars. And beside her, woven just as bright, were others, some already born, some still waiting in silence to find their voice. And then a tiny pulse of silver, far on the edge of her dream. A small light, a new one. When she woke, the waters were still, and nearby, barely more than a shadow beneath her fin, swam a newborn calf. Not hers, but drawn to her. It stared at her with wide, gentle eyes. No fear, only a quiet, reverent curiosity. And on its skin, silver flecks. Small, subtle, but unmistakable. Luna tilted her head, and the calf mirrored her. She released a low, inviting note, simple and soft, a greeting sung in the old language. The calf responded with a squeak, a bit unsteady, but in the right key. He had heard her. That night, she sang not to the moon, but to him, a lullaby of stars and waves, of beginnings and echoes, of what it meant to be the bridge. And as the calf curled beside her and drifted into sleep, the moon rose silently above them. Its light fell across the water in a wide silver arc, a promise, not of endings, but of continuance. Luna's song no longer needed to reach the moon to be heard. It had woven itself into the fabric of the ocean, into the coral groves, the dark trenches, the deep blue depths and sunlit shallows. Her melody had become the song of the sea itself, the song that echoed through the water every time a wave touched a shore, every time a whale breached the surface, every time a star blinked in the night sky. The ocean had always known its own voice. It just needed someone to remind it. The calf she had sung to, the one with the silver spots, grew quickly, not in size alone, but in spirit. His voice had begun to blossom in ways that made other creatures pause, the very current around him shifting as he called out to the waters, joining the harmony that Luna had brought back. It was as if the sea itself understood the importance of what was happening. The tides rolled in time with his calls, and the dolphins followed his lead in playful spirals, forming intricate patterns in the water as if they, too, had remembered how to dance. And so Luna continued to roam the oceans, no longer seeking anything, but simply being. She did not rush from place to place, for she had nowhere to go except where the waters carried her. In time, she returned to the great reef where she had first met the calf. There, beneath the stars, she would teach him the songs of the deep, the old ancient ones, the ones carried by whales who had lived long before her and would live long after. The world had changed, but it was still the same. The sea was a place of memory and wonder, a place where the stories of the past echoed forever, and the future was written in the hearts of the new generation. One evening, as Luna swam along a gentle current, she felt something stir in the water. A change, not in the sea itself, but in the song. It began as a ripple, faint and fragile, like the first note of a lullaby sung in the quietest of voices. Luna paused, letting the current carry her forward as she listened. It was a melody, soft and gentle, but it held the weight of a promise of renewal. The calf was singing. Luna swam closer, her heart swelling with something that felt like love and hope intertwined. The calf, now growing stronger and more sure of himself, had found his own voice. He was not singing to her. He was not singing for attention or for guidance. He was simply singing, and the ocean responded. The coral bloomed brighter in the depths. The dolphins danced, their bodies moving in time with the song. The whales joined in from afar, their deep, resonant calls echoing through the currents. Luna's song was carried on the winds, on the swells of the tides, and through the hearts of those who had listened. For the first time in ages, Luna felt a quiet peace settle within her. Her task had never been to hold the song forever. She had always known that. The song had to live on in the ocean, in the hearts of those who carried it forward. And now it was alive. It was not just her song anymore. It was the ocean's song. The moon rose high, casting its soft light across the water. And Luna, content in the quiet beauty of the world she had helped awaken, gazed up at it. She could feel its presence, as constant and eternal as the sea. The bond between them was no longer one of longing or distance. It was one of understanding, a mutual remembrance of something that had always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. As the days passed, Luna swam farther out into the open sea, her voice still echoing across the waves. She had no need to search for anything more. She had already found it. The song had not ended. It had only just begun. The calf continued to grow, his song becoming deeper, richer, more powerful with each passing year. And the other creatures of the sea learned from him, and from Luna, who had given them the gift of remembering. And as the ocean sang, and as the moon looked down with silent grace, Luna knew this truth. The song would never end, for it was carried in the currents, in the waves, in the hearts of those who listened. And in that way, the moon and the sea would always be together, forever intertwined in a song that would echo through time, beyond the reach of the stars. Time is a strange thing in the sea. It moves slowly, but without hesitation. The currents of the world never truly stop, but flow on with quiet certainty, carrying memories in their depths. The ocean, like the moon, is not bound by time in the way creatures of the earth are. It remembers in ways that words cannot fully describe. Luna, now an elder of the ocean, swam across the world she had once known as a wide, lonely expanse. The sea that had felt vast and full of mystery when she was young now felt like an old friend. Familiar, vast in its beauty, but always alive, always changing. She still sang, though her voice had grown softer, more reflective over the years. Her song no longer traveled alone. The ocean, her partner, echoed her notes, weaving its melody in time with hers. It was no longer just Luna who remembered the songs. The world itself had begun to sing again, each creature adding its voice to the chorus. Each wave a note, each swell a verse. Yet, Luna's heart knew that her role had shifted. She was no longer the one who called the sea back to harmony. She was the one who held the harmony, the keeper of the song. And now, the time had come for her to pass on the song to the next generation. She found herself drawn back to the great reef, the one where she had met the calf who had once listened to her. The reef had grown since then, more vibrant, more alive with the pulse of a world remembered. The corals shimmered in 100 colors, their soft glow reaching out in the water, drawing Luna closer. And there, once again, was the calf, the young whale who had sung with such bright innocence. Now he was grown, his voice powerful and deep. His silver spots gleamed like starlight under the water's surface, his presence a beacon in the ever-turning sea. Luna approached him, feeling the gentle tug of the currents as they swept around her. The young whale greeted her with a deep, knowing glance. "You have returned," he said, his voice resonating through the water with the warmth of home. Luna nodded, a slow, contented gesture. "I've come to listen," she replied, her voice a gentle echo in the currents. And together, they swam into the deeper waters, where the oldest songs lived, tucked away in the silence beneath the waves. Luna could feel the weight of time settling around them, a presence both comforting and inevitable. The young whale began to sing, his voice rich with the sounds of the sea. The chorus of the dolphins, the rhythm of the tides, the whispers of the ancient trenches. He sang without hesitation, his melody filling the water with purpose. Luna closed her eyes, letting the song wash over her. It was the same song, but new. The ocean's song was eternal, but every voice that added to it brought something different, something precious. For the first time in many years, Luna felt herself fading into the background, no longer the center of attention. The ocean had learned to sing on its own, and now, the voice of the next generation would carry it forward. And so, as the night settled over the sea, Luna swam quietly to the surface, where the moon hung high in the sky, waiting patiently for her. "Are you ready?" the moon asked, its light soft but certain. Luna looked back at the water where the young whale sang, his voice carrying into the deep, joined by the chorus of life all around him. "I am," she said. The moon's light shimmered across the surface of the sea, a silver thread that connected them. Luna, the keeper of the song, and the moon, who had always listened. And with one last soft note, Luna disappeared beneath the waves. Her voice did not fade. It was there, still singing, still echoing through the sea. The song would never end. Luna had passed on, but her story was not one of finality. The ocean was vast, and its memory long. It was said that the sea itself carried the songs of all those who had ever sung, whispering their melodies into the currents, waiting to be remembered. And though Luna had swum into the depths, leaving the surface behind, the ocean never let her go. For generations after Luna's final song, the waters continued to change, to grow, and to echo her voice. The moon, too, had changed. It still hung in the sky, glowing with the same gentle light, but it was no longer the silent watcher it once had been. The ocean had taught the moon how to listen, not just in the way it had for Luna, but in a deeper, more intimate sense. The moon had come to understand the rhythm of the tides, the pulse of life beneath the waves, and the voices of the creatures who swam in its embrace. Now, when the moon rose each night, it did not simply cast its light upon the water. It danced with the sea, responding to the ebb and flow of the tides in a harmony that no one had ever noticed before. It pulsed with life, its light shimmering across the surface like a soft lullaby, a reflection of the ocean's eternal song. One night, as the moon hung high above the water, a young whale, no more than a few years old, swam through the quiet waters. The stars above twinkled in the dark sky, and the gentle waves rippled softly against the shore. This young whale, with a coat as dark as the night, had never known Luna. She had only heard whispers of her, tales carried by the currents and carried in the songs of older whales. But tonight, the ocean felt different. The waters seemed to hum with energy, as if they were carrying something sacred within them. The young whale paused, looking up at the moon. It felt as though the light was calling to her, beckoning her forward. She tilted her head, listening to the soft song that filled the sea. She could hear the echo of Luna's voice in the water. It was faint but unmistakable. The moon, too, had noticed the young whale. Its light shimmered brighter, reflecting the shimmering silver that had once marked Luna's skin. The whale's body glowed as it swam closer to the surface, as though the moon itself was drawing her nearer. The young whale sang a single note, a simple, pure sound that resonated through the water. She had been born into a world already singing, but she had never truly felt the music before. Tonight, as the moon bathed the sea in its light, she felt a connection, a thread that tied her to something vast, something ancient. The song, long carried through the ocean's depths, found a new voice. Luna's legacy was alive, and now it lived in this young whale in the deepest trench of the ocean. Far below the reach of light, a great, old whale stirred from its long slumber. It had heard the song too. The rhythm, the pulse, the whisper of an ancient voice carried across the ocean floor. For the first time in many years, the old whale sang. It wasn't Luna's song that he sang. It was a new song, woven from the fabric of the ocean, filled with the memory of the past and the promise of the future. It was a song of renewal. On the surface, the water shimmered as the moon rose higher, casting its light over the vast expanse of the sea. The young whale swam onward, her song weaving through the currents, carrying with it the spirit of Luna and the generations of whales who had come before her. And as the song echoed across the waters, the ocean seemed to hum in response, alive, full, and complete. Somewhere deep in the water, where the currents began to fade and the stars glinted faintly from the surface above, a soft voice whispered, "Do you remember?" And in that quiet, hidden place, a soft answer came, as if from the very soul of the sea. "We remember." The moon, from its place in the sky, watched the song unfold. It knew that it had fulfilled its part. It had been there when the first song was sung, and it would be there when the last note faded into eternity. But it was no longer the silent witness. The moon had become a part of the song, woven into the very fabric of the ocean's music. The sea would continue to sing. Luna's legacy would continue to echo in the depths, carried by the creatures who had learned to listen. And with each new generation, the song would grow, always remembering, always evolving, but never fading. The song of the ocean and the song of Luna would never end. It is said that when a whale sings, its song travels farther than its body could ever hope to swim. And that is how Luna's song traveled, across currents, through the deep, over the ridges of mountains submerged beneath the sea, to the farthest reaches of the world. The ripple began small, like a pebble tossed into the vastness of the ocean. But over time, the waves of her song became a current that carried the whispers of the moon with it. For generations after Luna, the sea felt the presence of those who had gone before. Whales who had never known her personally, but who had felt her spirit in the waters. Dolphins who danced in the echoes of her laughter. Fish who swam in the swirls of her melodies. The song had become a pulse, a heartbeat of the world, pulsing through every creature who called the ocean home. In the farthest corners of the sea, beyond the sight of any living creature, the currents began to carry something new. A young calf, still new to the world, felt the same pull that Luna had once felt. She swam through the waters with the innocence of all who had gone before. But something in her eyes shimmered differently. The same silver that had marked Luna's skin now adorned hers, faint and soft but unmistakable. She swam with a purpose, drawn by an invisible thread, a song that called to her from the deep. One morning, at the edge of a great, rolling swell, the young calf lifted her head above the surface, her eyes wide with wonder as she gazed up at the sky. The moon was full and bright, casting its silvery glow over the sea. And there, above the water, she heard it, the same song that had carried through the generations, a gentle melody that echoed down from the sky, touching the waves and stirring the depths of the sea. The song of Luna, the song of the moon, woven into the very heart of the ocean. The calf felt the connection, the same bond that Luna had felt so long ago. She lifted her head toward the sky, her voice joining with the tide, singing the same song of harmony, of connection, of memory. The moon seemed to shine brighter in response. Back beneath the surface, the ocean stirred with the music. The whales who swam together in great pods felt the pull, their voices rising in unison. It was a song of renewal, a song of memory, a song of future generations carrying forward the light of what had come before. And in the great depths, a shadow stirred. A creature of the deep, ancient and wise, surfaced. It was the great Leviathan, an elder of the oceans, who had known Luna in her time. It had heard her song, even in the quietest corners of the world. He had felt her spirit in the waters as the sea swelled and changed. And now, as the calf sang, he he felt the new thread weaving through the currents. He remembered the old song, Luna's song, and felt the peace of knowing that it had never truly ended. The ripple that had begun with Luna was still spreading. It had become a current, and it would carry on forever, as long as the ocean existed. The ocean had always remembered, and it would continue to sing, forever intertwined with the moon. But the song wasn't just a call for the past. It was a call for the future. The calf's voice was part of the future, a continuation of the legacy, a thread that would weave through the tapestry of life beneath the waves. Luna had shown the ocean how to remember, but the future would show the sea how to create. The Leviathan, now ancient in years, swam slowly toward the calf. His massive body was calm, his eyes wise with the depth of lifetimes. The calf looked up at him, her silver spots reflecting the light of the moon. "You have sung," the Leviathan rumbled softly, "and the sea has listened." The calf nodded, her voice still echoing softly through the water. "The song will always be here," she whispered. "Won't it?" The Leviathan smiled, a slow, deep curl of his lips. "It will, and it will always be your song now. It is no longer just Luna's or the moon's or even mine. It is yours. It is ours." And so, as the waves rolled on and the moon climbed higher, the song continued to resonate through the oceans. New whales sang their part. Dolphins, sharks, and all the creatures of the sea added their voices to the chorus, harmonizing in a melody that echoed across the world. The ocean had always been alive, but now it sang not just for itself, but for the universe around it. And Luna's spirit was there too, not in the stars above, but in the very water itself, in the hearts of those who had come to understand the deep connection between the sea and the moon. For as long as the waves rolled and the tides turned, Luna's song would carry on, forever, across time, through generations, and into the future. The winds had begun to change. Though the ocean was always the heart of the song, the world beyond had begun to hear it as well. It started with the birds, those who flew above the waves, their wings slicing through the sky with purpose. They, too, had always been attuned to the rhythms of the world, but now they felt something deeper. When they passed over the oceans, they could hear the ocean's pulse, that sweet, steady heartbeat beneath the waves. They did not sing in the same way the whales did, but they carried the song in their travels, letting the breeze carry the melody to places far from the sea. The winds themselves, once silent, began to hum as well. As the birds flew, they would circle in the air and ride the gusts. Their songs would rise in the wind, and the song of Luna, the song of the ocean, would be carried to the farthest corners of the earth. The song, once confined to the water, began to reach the land. The mountains, ancient and silent, began to feel the presence of the melody too. There were times when the wind would blow just right, causing the trees to sway and creak in a rhythm they had never known before. The sound wasn't quite a song, but more like a whisper, a deep, ancient call that rippled across the earth, like the echo of the sea reaching out through the air. On the highest peaks, where snow met sky, the mountain goats paused. They could not hear the song with their ears, but they could feel it. The great peaks vibrated with the rhythm of something deeper than time, something eternal. And in those moments, the mountain goats would stop and gaze across the vast world before them, their eyes shining with the knowledge of something that had always been, something ancient and untold. Even in the deepest forests, the song had made its way. The old trees, whose roots reached deep into the earth, began to sway in response to the currents of air. Their leaves shimmered in the moonlight, the gentle rustling of their branches now keeping time with the deep, pulsing beat of the ocean below. In the heart of the forests, the deer, the foxes, the owls, all the creatures that walked beneath the canopy, felt a stirring within them, a feeling of connection to something greater than their world. They could not hear the song, not directly, but they could feel its presence in the air they breathed. It was as if the earth itself had learned to hum along with the oceans, and now the entire world had become part of Luna's eternal melody. Back in the water, the young calf, now grown, swam through the currents with a sense of purpose. Her voice had become a steady hum, joining with the other creatures of the sea, carrying the song forward. But even she could sense the change, the way the song was stretching beyond the sea. The ocean was connecting with the world in ways that had never been possible before. The calf's heart swelled with the weight of it. The song was no longer just for the sea. It had become something much greater, something that belonged to the entire world. It was a song of connection, of unity, weaving through all the creatures of the earth and sky. It was a reminder that, despite their differences, all living things were part of one vast, interconnected web. From the whales who sang to the depths, to the trees that swayed entwined, to the birds that flew high above, every being was part of the same song. One evening, as the sky darkened and the stars began to shimmer above the sea, the moon rose high, its silver light bathing the ocean in a soft, glowing embrace. The sea shimmered in response, rippling gently beneath the lunar light. The calf swam to the surface, lifting her head above the water to breathe in the cool, salty air. She gazed up at the moon, which glowed brighter than ever before. Its reflection danced on the water, creating a shimmering pathway of light that stretched across the vast, endless ocean. The moon seemed to gaze back at her with quiet understanding. And there, in that moment of quiet, something remarkable happened. The moon, which had always been a silent watcher in the sky, began to hum. It was faint at first, like a whisper on the wind. But soon it grew, its voice resonating through the air, through the water, through the earth. The sound was not just a reflection of the ocean's song. It was part of it. The moon, too, had become part of the melody. It was no longer just a symbol of distance and silence. It was now a participant in the song of life, forever linked to the ocean, to the earth, and to every living being who shared in the harmony. The calf, hearing the moon's hum join with her own voice, felt her heart swell with the beauty of it. The world had found its song, and it was a song of unity, a song of harmony between the sky, the sea, and the earth. The moon and the sea continued to dance together, their rhythms entwined, creating a melody that would never end. The ocean's song was no longer limited to the waves. It stretched across the world, reaching the hearts of every living thing, reminding them all that they were part of something greater. It was a song that had started with Luna, but it was not her song anymore. It was the world's song, and it would live on forever. The earth sang, the sea sang, the sky sang, and the song would never end. The song of Luna had become timeless, an eternal thread woven through the world, connecting all living things. But, as with all great stories, there comes a moment where the song must shift. It must evolve, and in that evolution, a new chapter was born. The ocean, though vast and infinite, had been forever changed by Luna's voice. No longer just a place of mystery, it had become a cradle of life, a place where the deep silence of the abyss echoed with the memories of songs past and the promise of songs yet to be sung. The whales, those great creatures who had once listened to Luna's teachings, now passed those teachings on to their calves. They swam together, their voices a melody that danced through the water, echoing through the deep trenches, over coral reefs, and through every wave. The song had grown more intricate, more layered, as each new generation added its voice to the chorus. But no matter how much the song changed, it always carried the essence of Luna. On the surface, the moon still rose each night, casting its light over the ocean. It had become more than a silent observer. Now it was a partner, a guide. Every time the moon's light touched the sea, it felt as though the two were speaking to each other, whispering secrets only they knew. The moon's glow would shimmer across the water, reflecting the eternal pulse of the ocean's heartbeat. It had learned to sing with the sea, creating a harmony that transcended time, a song that would carry on through the ages. And though Luna's physical form had disappeared into the deep waters, her essence remained, scattered across the currents. The ocean had always remembered, and now it was the song's guardian. Those who understood the language of the waves knew that the oceans themselves were alive with the voices of those who had passed, the memories of those who had come before. The great Leviathan, whose voice had once echoed the ancient lullabies of the deep, now swam alongside the young whales. His voice, deep and resonant, joined theirs in a symphony that filled the depths of the world. The young calf, now grown, felt her song take on new meaning. It was no longer just about the past. It was about the future. As the years passed, the world around the ocean shifted. The lands grew and changed, the creatures of the air and the earth continued their own journeys. But still the sea sang. And as it sang, it carried Luna's memory, her lesson, that no matter how vast the world became, no matter how far the song spread, all things were connected. One fateful day, a young girl stood at the edge of a cliff, gazing out at the horizon. The sea stretched before her, endless and full of possibility. The wind ruffled her hair, and as it blew, she felt something stirring deep within her. A call, a pull towards something greater. It was then that she heard it, the soft, distant echo of a melody. It was faint, but unmistakable. The sea was singing. The young girl had never known Luna, but the song had reached her. It had traveled across the air, across the land, and now it had touched her heart. It was a song of love, of unity, of connection between all living things. It was the same song the birds had heard, the trees had felt, the animals had known. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, allowing the melody to fill her. For the first time, she understood. She understood that the song was not just about the sea or the moon. It was about all of them. Every being, every creature, every moment, all intertwined in a dance of life. And as the song filled her heart, the world shifted. The mountains seemed to hum with the beat of the ocean. The stars in the sky twinkled with a new brightness. The earth itself seemed to vibrate in rhythm with the waves. The song, the legacy of Luna, had moved beyond the oceans, beyond the skies, and beyond the lands. It was now a part of everything. It had woven its way into the fabric of the world, and no matter where you were, you could feel its pulse, a reminder that all things were part of a larger whole. And so the ocean continued to sing, the moon continued to listen, and all the creatures of the earth and sky, from the greatest whale to the smallest bird, added their voices to the melody. It was a song that would never fade, a song that would never end. Luna had taught the world how to remember, how to listen, and how to sing. Her legacy was a song of connection, of love, and of the eternal bond between all living things.